Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folani. The surprising news yesterday was that a major electricity formation, they're talking about the, this invasion by military personnel of the Ikeja Electric Office on Agor Palace Way, Okota, Isolo, where military men invaded the place, ransacked it, brutalized staff, in short, traumatized people. And then, coincidentally, we would have heard about this anyhow, but the MD and CEO, of the Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors happened to actually be in the area, and so he was able to witness this firsthand. He is our guest this morning to tell us of the experience he had yesterday and get more of a personal eyewitness account. You're very welcome, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Uncle Yori. Thank you, sir.
Well, what I suggest is that we have a package. So let's look at that very briefly, and so we then come and you elaborate on that. Stay with us.
The viral video shows officers of the Nigerian Air Force around the headquarters of the Ikeja Electric in Ikeja. The armed men in uniform enter the office, which is a few meters from the governor's office. They brutalized some staff, destroyed properties of the distribution company, wiped out IT infrastructure, printers, and blinded all the CCTV cameras for disconnecting a military barracks over unpaid bills. Hours after, the management of Ikeja Electric, led by its chairman, Kola Adeshina, and some top officers of the Air Force, led by Air Vice Marshal Kola Ademowogun, at a joint briefing agreed to mend fences.
Been very difficult and challenging, and if we cannot collect, how do we pay our staff? How do we incentivize them to be able to do what they are paid to do? So this unfortunate situation arose, and of course we woke up to this sad event. This is a traumatic day in the life of our organization, because as an organization, one of the things we pride ourselves for is the safety of our people first, safety of our assets, and ensuring that we give electricity to our customers.
The chairman explains that the Air Force is owing IKEDC over 4 billion naira and didn't show any commitment to offsetting the debts, describing the violence as unfortunate and needless, although normalcy has since returned to the office premises. For Air Vice Marshal Ademowogun, the barracks have been in darkness for several weeks and describes the incidents as unfortunate. He promised to investigate and sanction personnel involved in the rampage.
On our part, we will investigate what has happened and sanction appropriately. We also assure members of the staff of Ikeja Electric that this armed forces is theirs. The Nigerian Air Force is theirs. It is our responsibility everywhere and anywhere to ensure and assure them of their safety. And that responsibility we will not take lightly.
Experts raised concern about the safety of high-caliber armament stored in the base's operational warehouse. They say the high temperatures poses a great risk due to non-functional cooling systems to avert a repeat of the Ikeja cantonment bomb explosion. But stakeholders hope a permanent resolution would be reached to forestall a repeat of Thursday's attack.
Okay, so just in case you missed the news yesterday, this is the meat of the story. And as I said, Barrister Sunday Odutan, who is the MD and CEO of the Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors, he was also able to witness it firsthand. Now, what do you feel about the assurances given by Air Vice Marshal Ikeja Ademowogun there?
Well, with due respect, Air Vice Marshal Ikeja Ademowogun, everything he said there is an afterthought. What happened to us yesterday, and I was a living witness, I've had a very, very sleepless night. One of our executives, one of the top technical executive in Ikeja, is still in the hospital as I speak. What happened yesterday, AVM Ademulegun cannot and should not exonerate himself unless he's saying that as an air officer commanding, he's not in control. And the last time I checked, we are not in a military government. And this is something, for me, I need to speak straight to the heart of the president and the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. If we want a normal country, we should not go back to the Kalakuta Republic days. We should not go back to what happened to the late Chief M.K. Abiola's son when he was brutalized by the same people, this Ikeja Air Force Base, which they now name Sam Etnam Air Force Base. When they brutalized this young Abiola's son, the next thing the Chief of Air Force then said, hey, they are mad dogs. We thought we've been able to get rid of mad dogs. We are now in a civilian government where the military will not have this level of impunity. And I will explain what I mean. Because for me, a debtor has no right to go and brutalize and destroy the property of his creditor.
No, so this is where all of this is coming from. Number one, it is one of perhaps many of your customers that are in debt.
Yes.
And it's not a puny debt. It's been coming from way back. Maybe you
from
could
2013.
From 2013
yes.
to now. Could you give us a summary? Because this is at the bottom of everything. They're not being able to pay.
Let me break it down. Like I said...
Sorry, let me amend that. I shouldn't say they're not being able to pay. They're not paying.
They're able to pay. They just don't want to pay.
They're not paying.
This government even gave them money to pay their utility bills. I will explain everything.
Okay, yeah. It'll be
this
interesting
is how...
You say this scenario is coming from 2013.
2013, no.
Okay, let's hear it.
Ikeja Air Force Base, their total bill from time of coming to this business, November 1st, 2013, to the last day of December 2022, their total billing that was not in contention was 7,564,153,000 naira. Out of that 7.5 billion, they paid 4.3 before 2023. So, as at the 1st of January 2023, we had an outstanding balance of 3.2 billion from Ikeja Air Force Base
alone.
And we kept asking them to pay. And we continue to supply them with electricity. So, in 2023, their billing was 1.4 billion, 1,403,106, 1,403,106,000 naira. So out of 1.4 of 2023, they didn't pay, they left that of 2020 up to 2022 December unpaid. But out of the 1.4 billion bill of 2023, they paid 1.2.
Okay.
Leaving a balance of 191 million naira. That is 2023. In 2024, their bill was 1.5 billion naira. Remember, 2023 was 1.4. Their consumption went up by over 100 million in 2024. Out of 1.5 billion, they paid only 623 million. And the last time I checked, this government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu paid more attention to the issue of payment of MDA debt, ministry, department, and agencies like them. And we all know more money accrued to all these agencies in the year 2024. So there's no excuse. They could pay 1.2 in 2023, yet they only pay 623 million in 2024, leaving a balance of 893 million. So when you look at the whole thing, before 2023, 3.2 billion debt, 2023, 191 million naira debt, 2024, 893 million debt, making 4,340 million debt. 4.3 billion. We have a right to ask for this, and we did. And in June 2024, that was when they started this act of, in fact, impunity, using a very mild word. In 2024 June, they beat some of our staff who went there to ask for payment. That was June last year. We didn't complain. We didn't come to the press. We felt that maybe some mad dogs, junior mad dogs, So thinking that the officers and gentlemen at the top, people like AVM, Ademulegun, who would believe can see what is right and what is wrong, and can remember or remind himself that this is not a military government. Okay, so on the 29th of July, 2024, when they still failed to pay, we had a meeting. We first of all sent them a letter that since you are not paying your debt, okay, and every letter we wrote to them, 4 letters, and I will give you the dates, we copied the chief of air staff, so he's aware. The chief of air staff is aware. The air officer commanding logistics is aware. This same AVM Ademulegun is their boss there, is aware. So we sent a letter to them that, okay, now that you are not paying what you owe, and this is running to billions, this is not our money alone. Ikeja only has about 20% of the money. This money belongs to the market. We have to pay the generation companies, the producer of electricity, the transmission company of Nigeria, and other stakeholders, including loan payment back to the CBN. So this is not our money. So we wrote to them, we said, okay, what we need to do now is to install a device that we can use to manage the supply of electricity to the Air Force base. That device is called auto recloser. What the device do, essentially, is that you can determine how many hours you want to give a particular community or an area. Mm-hmm. This will depend on their payment pattern, mm-hmm. their ability to pay, and their willingness to pay. As far as the Air Force is concerned, they are able to pay. They have the ability. They get their money from the Federal Ministry of Defense. It is this problem of corruption that is even staring us in the face now, because they cannot, in good conscience, they say that they cannot pay. And even we get them all options. So when we install the device, on the 3rd of October, 2024, we had a meeting with AVM Ademulegun, AK Ademulegun. At that meeting, of course, he wasn't happy that we install a device that will limit what comes into their premises. And at that meeting on that day, we agreed that, okay, give us access to install prepaid high voltage prepaid meter so they can pay as they go. And this gentleman, as we thought, this officer and gentleman, AVM AK, I want everybody to continue to remember his name, AVM AK Ademulegun, he agreed. And to show good faith on our part as Ikeja Electric, we decided to give them 11 hours of continuous supply, even though they are not paying, from October 3rd to October 7th. So we left that meeting. Now, when they didn't show any commitment, on October 9, we then sent them a letter. That's the second letter. That letter was requesting for access to install a prepaid meter. They didn't respond. Then we sent the third letter on the 25th of November, telling them specifically that we shall be installing the prepaid meter on Monday, 2nd of December, 2024. When we sent them that letter, on Monday, our contractor and our technical staff who were supposed to go and install the meter, they went there, they were turned back, and they were threatened by these mad dogs. Okay.
Well, officers in the barracks.
Because we saw them as officers and gentlemen.
Okay.
And they have not shown in any. I was threatened yesterday.
Okay.
Even living here today, if anything happened to me, hold Nigerian Air Force responsible.
Okay, one moment, Chief. Chief, one moment. No, this is important. It's a technical matter. One moment. I'm going to take a break now, so we just fix something, and we'll be right back. This is intriguing as it is traumatizing to even listen to. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
The Inspector General of Police has met with senior officers to review the state of security.
We are continuing our coverage of the arrest of Godwin Emefiele.
The Senate has summoned the governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria to properly brief the Senate regarding the state of the economy.
What I will never take is threat. now bring you more development from Ibadan, the your state capital, where an explosion has taken place. Tell us about this incident.
TVC News. First with breaking news.
Every major news story is with many perspectives and layered with different levels of impact.
Hello. What time did this happen? We will be right there.
At TVC News, we follow the big and major news.
Okay, welcome back. Chief Sunday Odunto is still with us. He's the MD and CEO of the Association of Nigerian Electricity Distribution Companies. Now, we were hearing how what happened yesterday happened in a democratic era. Military personnel invade civilian, unarmed institutions, and he was explaining to us that all of this is stemming from a debt that goes back to 2013, that goes back to 2013. Yes. And we've been hearing the story. And he was just, as I was wondering, has there been communication between you and the military arm concerned, to the Nigeria Air Force, headed up by Air Vice Marshal A.K. Ademulegun? And he said, indeed, there was. So could you just tell us about the communication, which obviously must have failed, otherwise you wouldn't have been invaded by military officers?
We have had series of meetings with them, and we have written 5 letters so far. The last letter was the one just on the 5th of March. But the first letter was on July 29, 2024. Okay. And every letter we wrote, we copied Air Officer Commanding Logistics, this same AVM, Air Vice Marshal A.K. Ademulegun, and of course the Chief of Air Staff. So they are all aware, and we have all the stamped copies of the letters. So the first one was July 29, 2024, when they failed to pay, and we said, okay, let us install an equipment called auto recloser. What that does, that machine, is that it enables both parties to say, Uncle Yori, how many hours can you pay for? If you can pay for 10 hours, once I program it on that machine,
you get the 10 hours.
You get your 10 hours.
Did you have access to go and install such an equipment?
We asked them, and then they allowed us to do that.
Okay.
Which is just at the point of joining their own complex. So it was easier to do that. But we had a meeting with the gentleman, AVM Ademulegun, on the 3rd of October, 2024. At that meeting, he was obviously not happy with that device, because that device gives them limited supply.
As opposed to the 24/7
that they were enjoying. They were happy to use electricity free of charge because they are military. They were even telling us something that is funny, which I don't hear from other countries' military. They always remind us, after all, they are protecting us. Of course, they are protecting us, but it's not for free. You choose to do this job voluntarily. Everybody have their own job. So we now say, okay, Oga, let us give you prepaid meter, high voltage prepaid meter. We install the meter, so you'll be putting your money and you'll be enjoying your 24-hour electricity at Bande. At that meeting, to show that we have good faith, even though we have not installed the machine, the prepaid meter, we agreed that we'll give them 11 hours of supply. Okay. From October 3, that we had that meeting with this gentleman. How did you arrive at that figure of 11 out of 24 hours? No, we look at our debt. We look at our pocket. Okay. We look at what we can afford to lose. Because we know people that are not paying, who are able to pay, just don't want to pay. So, and they agreed. So from October 3rd, we said we'll do that until the 7th. If they can come forward, pay, then allow us to install prepaid meter. Nothing happened. So on October 9, we now wrote them formally to request for access to install meter. No response. So on November 25, we now gave them a date. That's letter 3, 3rd letter. We said, we are going to, our contractors and our staff are coming on Monday, the 2nd of December to install your prepaid meter. Please allow us access. On Monday, the 22nd of December, AVM Ademulegun and his people refused to allow access to install prepaid meter.
Well, you're saying that you're saying
that's
AVM,
the Oga.
Well, yes, you're mentioning his name because he happens to be responsible. He is the Oga.
AOC.
Okay.
That is the commander. That is the Oga. Pata pata.
Yeah.
And in the military, there's hierarchy. We don't have to belong to the military to know how things work. So there's nothing they do that he's not aware of. That's why I was shocked. He was talking to my chairman of Ikeja. He was talking at the meeting. I think we will investigate. He knows who came to invade or who came to beat us. They should fish them out. And if they think this will be swept under the carpet, we are ready to do this for the next several months until we get justice. I'll get there.
Where are we now? It's important. I wanted to know the situation now in terms of electricity supply on Band A to the Air Force base there. Is it on now or off?
It cannot be on. And they should not even expect it to be on. Because even the people who are supposed to help us put this thing on are in the hospital.
Okay.
If you want me to take cameras to the various hospitals, you will see them. You see, because what they did was, when we said give us access, they blocked access. It was at that point that we also noticed that they have vandalized and tampered with the auto recloser. They did it twice.
Okay.
They disconnected the communication cable. That is the cable that allows us, as Ikeja Electric, from the headquarters, to monitor how the auto reclusion is determining the supply into that premises. They cut it off. That's a criminal offense on its own. So when they did that, we now wrote them a letter on the 17th of January 2025. Again, copied the Chief of Air Staff, so he's aware. In Abuja, wherever the Chief of Staff is, Chief of Air Staff is aware. The AOC Logistic is aware. Our gentleman, the Oga Parata, AVM Ademulegun, is aware. We sent them and we made them to understand. We copiously quoted all the laws, what they have done, the implication of it. In fact, one of the penalties for doing that is that your monthly bill for that month, you should pay a fine of 300% of what your bill should be. Because that is energy theft.
That's
so
if you are dealing ordinarily with a civilian.
So we did that on the 17th of January.
In fact, as you were speaking, I wonder if we can, I didn't want to interrupt. I saw some videos of Bedlam, chaos. Yes. Perhaps they will be able to play those videos as you are speaking.
Nigerians need to see it and see. I witnessed this live and direct. I went for a meeting. And I went there early because they were going for a commissioning. I was going to ask how you happened to be there. I had a meeting at Ikeja Electric. I live in Abuja. I work in Abuja. But I traveled to Lagos the day before because I needed to be at Ikeja. I got there early because I knew that the MDCU and all that, they were going for the commissioning of a solar power plant in Ogutate, near Ota. At exactly 7:35, we just saw different truckloads of Air Force officers, not Army, not Navy, fully armed, in uniform, scaling the fence. They were beating up customers, staff, and other bystanders. And they asked everybody to lie down. God save the MDCO. Because they were saying, where's your MD? Where's your MD? A lady, Mrs. Falake Shoeton. Fortunately for her, her driver just drove her right to the back of the building and kept her in the boot of her SUV, Toyota Prado, in the boot. Now, I and others had to run away and were able to take some of this video from afar. You can't even dare move near them. And they remove all our CCTV cameras, as you will have heard that at the beginning of the program. They remove everything, CCTV cameras. They actually, for you to see the criminality, for you to see the impunity, for you to see the mindset. So they planned it. So there must have been some Oga somewhere who asked them to come. I don't believe one lowly officer, one lowly personnel would just take the trucks with loads of them. There are more than 100.
And then they went out of their way to be sure to...
they went to the IT department.
To remove evidence. Because the cameras that could have given us a situation...
The database for the CCTV camera, they removed everything. They took it away. They carted everything away. They took 17 of our vehicles. They found the drivers and made them... we were going out for a commission. So they found them. They took all the vehicles to Air Force Base in Ikeja. I don't know who must
intervened.
have called them on that, I don't know, but they returned the vehicles later. But they seized the phone of many of our staff, never returned them. Some of the phones were broken, you can see that from the video. They did all of this, but what is shocking to us is that there is a commander-in-chief of the armed forces for the country. The country has the chief of defense staff, we have national security advisor, we have chief of air staff. So how come one officer in Ikeja, not Ikeja cantonment, this is Air Force Base, Ikeja,
yes,
now decide to go and invade and brutalize civilians?
I imagine Nigerians,
blood gushing out of people's mouth.
We know ourselves, and I can imagine that Nigerians listening to this probably will want to call in. Now. They'll probably want to call in and that. But I wanted to ask, they are not your only customers. So I wanted to ask, how does this affect other customers in that setup that they are a part of?
What they have done now, they've taken us practically offline. It will cost us millions of naira to get our ICT backend back. They went to the ICT department, destroyed everything. They went to the HR department, destroyed everything. We have video, we have pictures.
But other customers,
of all of this.
Is the Air Force the only customer that you have in that area? I mean, other customers that are attached to that network is what I'm trying to find out. Are they the only people now that are suffering this?
We are going to be able to serve our other customers. If any customer is going to be affected, to be minimal in terms of getting supply there. But the problem is even our ability to deal with billing and everything.
And to function as an office.
They have destroyed all of that. Nigerian Air Force Base Ikeja has destroyed everything.
The first call that has come in is from Reverend Dominic. Good morning, Reverend Dominic.
Good morning to Chief Sunday.
Yes.
Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, sir.
Chief, I actually sympathize with you. But give me 30 seconds to make this.
Sure. Go ahead, Reverend.
What happened to this office and this gentleman? I saw it coming 2 weeks ago. Unless our nation is belief of history. That was a victim of military government. I was surprised the day they were calling IBB on Abuja, eulogizing him and praising him. Let me use the word of the Vice President, Yomi Oshibaja. He said our president, Tinubu, is sitting side by side by his chief tormentor. I don't know in a nation that crown chief tormentor and celebrate chief tormentor. When that happened, I was shivering in my office. Say, how could we celebrate IPB, who torment us for almost 8 years? We have had called Nadoke route. The present president of Nigeria after that route to wherever he went. We were tormented. And that is why the man, chief commander of Air Force, could do that. Because if the chief commander who put this nation in shame, killed Abacha's wife, killed Abiola's wife, killed Abiola, and killed most of us, could be praised at the end of it. Why should he be praised after he has destroyed that office and destroyed the camera and destroyed that house? By owing to that power station, the owner now is the creditor, debtor, and now the creditor. That is what happened in Abuja today. They are even saying this. In Rwanda, even though Rwanda have been healed, some people who caused Rwanda, so they were still in prison. In Germany, Hitler time, some people, men of Hitler, are still in prison. I'm ready to quote wrong. But for Nigeria to celebrate IBB, it's a shame to me personally, and a shame to us who fight for democracy. And what we saw yesterday was a repeat of it. At the end of this thing, the man he was.
Abadi nko ṣe tí ò bá ṣe kò sí tẹ́lẹ̀ kankan lè fi wá ṣe. Bàbá lẹ́gùn bàbá wa ó jò tí ò jó mọ́ kò jó mọ́ náà.
Adéyìnfẹ́. Ṣé ìwọ ló ṣe é? Ṣé kí ni? Kógun já àwọn èèyàn mi. Sọ ọdọ́gbọ́n fún mi ni.
Nigerians, because we are not in military era. We are on what called democratic government era. But today, security agents, they say what happened in Lagos today. They are now turning Nigeria as if we are that good, which is not heard. So there's need for the federal government to look, because there is no mode that passes by. Either the discharge that discharge, or data discharge, or computer discharge, that should be heard. It is not heard. So there is, because the security agencies should be trained and retrained. Now tell me, why must you, as a human being, go to people's office, behave that way? Now, do people know that at least for today, statistics are showing that 40 to 50% of the whole world are suffering from high BP? Only the noise alone will make them the temperature, so everything will just rise. To come back again, only God in heaven will save this. Why are they behaving? Honestly speaking, your guys in the military to do what? All those people involved, both the driver, both the instructor, whoever signed the rifle to them, all of them should be court-martialed. If they don't do it, I bet you another one is going to happen. Because of the anyone that happens, nobody takes proper attention, nobody takes no retracer at all. On them. That is why they are doing this thing. Yeah. Because this one, the federal government should not allow it. This one is not a question of going to National Assembly, they put committee come, another committee come. No, this one, the federal government should, the military should take action now or then. Even the commander there and the judge there should be called upon that they can find out why are these buses, Lagos is getting out of proportion. Lagos is capital, we used to know. Why are the people, when they should tell anybody that's sending to Lagos to man any place in this? Person has been trained and retrained. Because what is going on now is not healthy. We are not in the military era. We are in a democratically elected system of government, democracy. That is what we want, and that's what we continue to do.
Indeed. Okay, then. Well, thank you very much. So, you see, Chief, one is perplexed by this kind of a situation, especially in a democratic era, that a branch of the military, the whole business is to actually be protective of the citizenry, but we have this kind of a situation, and you have not been either Ikeja Electric officers or your good self, your office, nobody has been contacted to sort of explain?
Not at all. It has been a very traumatic experience. I, for one, have not slept since yesterday. I mean, the trauma of what happened yesterday is mind-boggling. This is something I never, ever thought can still happen in Nigeria of 2025. And I have a word for the political class, just to buttress Mazi Okorafor. Number one, you our leaders, this is not the time for you to be kissing your husband or kissing your wife to make any public show at the National Assembly. What the Air Force people of Ikeja, what they did yesterday to us, is an indication that they can do a lot of things to all of you. This is how people can easily plan and execute a coup. Because in a country where they will sign out vehicles, truck, fully armed, sign out armed, go somewhere, invade it, and we are still dealing with issues that are not even important. What we should be dealing with now should be issue of good governance, transparency. We should be at a point whereby no military person should be able to plan anything funny. What they did yesterday for us as discourse is our own coup.
Well,
I pray that they will not do that to Lagos State government or to National Assembly or to Nigerian government. But unless these people are brought out and we see justice, I can assure you, and let Nigerians take note of my word, they will do it again and again and again, and they will do it in a larger proportion. We are all living witnesses to what happened in this country. At the same Ikeja, both Ikeja Cantonment and the Air Force Base. Is it that of January 15, 1966? All the way through when we had series of coups. So what happened yesterday is a coup against Ikeja Electric.
It certainly brings back...
That is my own.
It brings back
and we need them to assure of our safety, not just by one AVM saying you assure us when you send your officer to come and kill us.
Okay.
So this is something that the president needs to react.
Ade
need to see what
in the UK is standing by. He wants to join the program. Good morning, Ade.
Good morning, Mr. Yori, and good morning to my brother there.
Good morning,
Chief Sunday Odutan.
I watched Sunday Odutan. I watched yesterday. I feel ashamed as a Nigerian. Now, my advice to Mr. Aduta is this. I will give you free advice. Number one, Joe Ajero is the lead president of NFC. He was in the electric department before. He should call a strike because of this. That's the language the government understands. Number two, write a letter to human rights and report the Air Force. Number three, get Malana to go to court and sue them. That's the only language the government understands. If you are sitting in television house, they will know better. And when the human rights involved, all these three sectors I mentioned involved, they will be ashamed. I've been in England for over 35 years. I don't see army face to face like this, apart from television. On the street, I never see one. You know, going everywhere. Never. And look at Nigeria, they turn themselves to Lord. What a shameful thing. Poor people who are working. What has that got to do with electricity? And when they fail to pay, and the chief of defense staff should be deducting all the electricity money, energy money from their budget and pay it straight to the company. That's what they do everywhere. They build the budget they are giving them in the National Assembly. Everything is inclusive. And right to National Assembly, all the energy should be deducted. Even last time the army was owing, but they didn't do this one. Air Force is doing now. So that AVM should be marshal and retire immediately. It disgraces our country. The whole world was watching it. I got some police people watching it here. It's a disgrace. Shame to them.
Indeed. Well,
God bless Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much, Ade, calling in from the UK. It's, as he put it, well, he used his own words. I don't think anybody is going to be proud of what happened. There are ways of dealing with matters. The military is a highly disciplined formation. They would not tolerate.
So we thought.
Well, they would not tolerate this kind of behavior. That they themselves are the authors of it.
Unless and until the military authorities do something about this in an open and transparent way, until they bring all the culprits to book and we're able to see them, and they have to return all the database, all that things that they took away.
Yeah, because that's something that we're not
But they didn't want us to see their faces from the CCTV. That's what they did.
Yes,
that's why they did
so
it.
in spite of saying that, in fact, I was going to make the point that the pictures that
there must be full restoration
from very far away
of defense
because
or whoever
people
is
couldn't
going to do
approach.
that. There must be full restoration. We cannot lose billions of naira to this kind of vandalism and then people say, don't worry. And let me say to either top government officials or politicians, nobody should make any attempt to call Ikeja electric and start giving us pressure to go and give life back to Air Force Base at Ikeja. Thank God there's electricity, the new Electricity Act. It enables state and local government. Ikeja, they can generate their own electricity now for their own Air Force Base. Let the military do their own electricity and pay our own outstanding debt.
Okay, as I've been saying for a few days, and it's really good, it's been good for a long time, I'm talking about the reception of our program. You know, as you're watching it, if there are any difficulties, you can always catch us on our YouTube channel, the same place. So just if there's any disruption, you can catch us on that. And the world is still watching us via, what is it called now? People in the diaspora. Okay, but as you were saying, and I think, yeah, River State government, they are commissioning Rumudonmaya Fire Service Station and vehicles, just to get that out of the way. And so,
of getting things done technically have been destroyed, you see, and there has to be complete restoration.
I'm a bit concerned because the military, they are experts in this, but we're not in any war. The military knows how to disrupt. It's part of a formation. It's part of their operation if they need to do so. But there is no war, and in any case, you don't disrupt people who are not the enemy.
I won't believe that there is war. So they are fighting a wrong war. There's no war with the civilians. This is the same Nigerian Air Force who we expect to fight banditry, kidnapping, and insurgency. This is the same Nigerian force and the military that we expect to do their job. But if they are not idle, how can more than 100 armed Air Force personnel come to a civilian building and start beating people up?
You know, I'm trying to wonder...
Maybe they should even send them to farm to be doing agriculture.
No, I'm trying to wonder...
We're in trouble in this country.
Well, because when, you know, the military as a hierarchical organization, it's all about orders and orders must be obeyed. Yes. I wonder what the brief was to the officers who came to cause havoc in there yesterday.
They were sent.
But apparently it seems to be enough that even if they say that we didn't pay for electricity, there is this whole question about, you had said that they had said, we are defending the nation. And so from their perspective, you know, nobody should be touching any of our facilities. But you said that these same people have been paying. Yeah. You explained how they paid.
Yes.
The payment rate might have decreased.
Yes.
But surely the military, and you were saying that you are sure that provisions have been made for them to pay their bills.
Correct.
So what is going on here?
I mean, the National Assembly is there, everybody knows about
there are ways.
Appropriation. The truth of the matter is that since this government came on board in 2023, there have been a lot of attempts to pay. That's why in 2023, this same Ikeja Air Force Base, out of a bill of 1.4 billion, they pay 1.2 billion. Where do they get the money from?
Well, and that is commendable.
But in 2024, the same Air Force Base, Ikeja, their bill increased by 100 million, so it was 1.5 billion. How much did they pay? They paid 623 million. They need to tell us whether it is the Minister of Defense or Minister of Defense that did not release their money, or whether the money came through somehow, or it was eaten up by a snake.
Yeah. Let me bring on Benga in Abuja. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Ayori.
Thank you for calling in. Yes.
Yes. What happened yesterday is condemnable, and the government should step into it and investigate. And they should court martial those what they call mad dogs. Because you are owing somebody such billions of naira, and there is no good character, no appreciation and dialogue. The next to vandalize, destroy the property, and then
even their records.
Even their records. I know that they must have gone with the CCTV recorder there, so that they will not show their safety. But no matter what, the public has some pictures and the rest and the video. They should fill them out and punish for that. Then it also brings to the fore that many of these discos that we are saying they are not performing is because government facilities and government agencies are paying them in billions.
Correct.
I think that this discourse, that should be a kind of summit on this. Because by the time you are owing billions of naira, how do you want this to bank? How do you want them to pay their salary? And also, I'm suggesting that any organization owing above 5 million naira, that should be a kind of law. Because the value of the money is 113. It's not the same thing now. 113, the value of naira is about 120 naira, thereabouts to $1. The net about 1,500. You can see the valuation in that money. That money, the value is not the same again.
Yeah.
And everything, most of the things being used by these powers of the agriculture, the cable, the material, everything. You can see where they are. They are vulnerable, and this can make them to close down. I think there should be a law that should be interest in whatever anybody owes. If you don't pay the 5 million naira and you don't pay every year, that is about 30% increment. So as to cater for all these things. And the president should step in. All the agencies should pay their money so that they give life to this distributor company. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for calling in, Abdi, in Abuja. you know, it's a depressing situation.
Very depressing.
It's a depressing.
And very traumatic.
And also traumatic to those who were there. You, as a result of things you explained earlier, happened to also be in the location. And I have also seen some videos on air. There was a gentleman, a young man, the way he put it interestingly was in his relatively young adult life. He had never seen anything like that. You might have seen that video and know this person that I'm talking about. Yes. And you can't just go to work and then be brutalized like that and nothing happens.
And then you come back and sit down around the table as if this is the end of Ukraine and Russian war.
I can imagine how you feel, Chief.
We don't go grill.
I can imagine how you feel,
Some of us that belong to Nadeko abroad, we didn't fight for democracy for nothing. No?
I don't even think
and
the government...
And the then Senator Tinubu was the first person to condemn the mad dogs.
I don't even...
And we remind him.
Yes, but I don't even think that the government...
So we want to wait and see.
I don't...
This one.
Yes.
We don't go agree.
Let's wait and see. But I don't even think the government itself will agree.
If something is done,
this is not
INED will never keep quiet. You cannot silence us. If I have to go outside the country and be doing this program by Zoom, I will do it.
No,
you cannot continue to oppress us like this. We have a government.
I am guessing that the extent of what we
saw,
the brutalization of ordinary civilians.
One of our chief engineers is still in the hospital.
But if
the guy's mouth was full of blood.
Did you say they arrived with arms?
Armed, fully armed.
Because they know that there's nobody with arms.
And they were pointed gun at us. I was there, live and direct.
So this is a problem. This is a problem.
This is traumatic.
It is.
It's not something I wish for my enemy.
I can imagine.
Pregnant lady, one of our staff, was asked to lie down. Pregnant lady, Dobale. In a country like this.
No, for real.
Yes, now. Why do you think we are this agitated? I will not sit down before Nigerians and the whole world and be talking down on my country. I love my country. I'm proud to be a Nigerian,
the Yoruba
but we need to fish out
this
bad element in our military.
Yes.
Ikeja Air Force Base is full of people that we need to know who they are, who sent them.
Okay, well, I can imagine how you feel.
If they are now greater than the chief of the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, then we want to see.
Well,
the box top at the table of the president. That's Commander-in-Chief
I can imagine
of the armed forces of Nigeria.
So
if a civilian president should not be commander-in-chief, maybe we should sit that one back to chief of defense staff or chief of air staff, so they can continue to kill us.
Everybody can imagine
impunity of the highest order.
And my guess is that the president, with his extensive democratic credentials, is going to be upset about this. There probably will be a way he will go about it. We have to take care of our many but
they are disgracing this government.
This must not
happen.
This
thing is not a good thing for this government. And the whole world is looking at us. We will take this thing to CNN. I assure you.
No, Chief. What I'm
if they don't do anything,
I
will take it to the whole world.
I wanted to say
we've done it before.
I know how you feel, but I wanted to think. I wanted to say that I'm sure there are many Nigerians who would also be thinking that this kind of thing cannot be met with impunity. There will be investigations. There have to be investigations. It doesn't matter. We have our issues, we have our challenges, our problems, but we are a civilized country. Military, the people in uniform don't go to civilian locations fully armed, traumatize the people there. There's no way any military officer is going to condone that. Let me just say, but I know what you've told us, but this is not the way of the military, is my thinking. So what has happened? This is not the way of the military, and we have video that this indeed was the way of the military yesterday. So this is why it has to be...
I expect you to say this should not be the way of the military. As far as we are concerned, and I'm not talking about other military, I'm not talking about other formation. We are going to Kaduna because we have had something similar, but not as bad as this. But as far as we know, Ikeja Air Force Base, they call it, I'll call the name Sam Etnan Air Force Base.
Yes.
Ikeja.
Well.
They do not do things the way of the military, which are known for honor
and I'm sure,
as officers and gentlemen.
I'm sure we haven't heard the last of this,
let me repeat my words.
Because we've run out of time.
I want to make an appeal.
Yes.
From the presidency to the Honorable Minister of Power to our regulators. Nobody should give either our investors of Ikeja Electric or the management of Ikeja Electric any pressure to go and reconnect Air Force Base without this debt being paid. If anybody tries that, I can assure you that you can deal with the businessman. I'm not a businessman, I'm not an investor. We'll take this thing even outside the shores of Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. That's a fine place. That's a fine place. It's a painful incident, a fine place to leave it. First of all, I condole with you on the trauma that you and members of your staff felt yesterday, and I want to thank you very much for coming along. I'm sure the government will let us hear about this, because we need to be assured that this is not going to be the norm in this country. Barrister Sunday Otuto, Thank you very much
Thank
for coming along. MD
you,
and CEO of the Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors. So that's where we're going to have to leave it. We'll pick up the story whenever there's more to say on this whole matter. In the meantime, do have a great weekend. Please join us on Monday for a fresh edition of the program. I'm Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.